Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation on Gifted Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, and I am delighted to be joined by my two co-hosts this evening and our guest. So, Scott, welcome.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here. Wonderful to see you. And hopefully we bring a bit of sunshine to everybody.
And David, who definitely requires the sunshine.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all again.
And David, as Joy is your guest, I am going to let you introduce her. And of course, our topic is Reiki and synchronicity. So, David, I'll hand over to you to introduce Joy.
Right. Thanks, Sarah. Hello, Joy, and thanks for coming on. Thanks for being a guest. It's so nice to see you. I suppose our background, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, but I think it must be 20 years that we have known each other. It must be that about a time.
17th of April will be 20 years.
The 17th of April?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. Well, what a celebration we can have tonight. And Joy, I think I met you the first time was when you came over to have a Reiki course with me. I think that was correct, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
And it's really, it's funny how now this is synchronicity at its best, isn't it? 20 years this month. You're on here. I didn't think about that. We first met with Reiki. And we've got a night of synchronicity almost. So it's really, really tied in. So I know your path of Reiki took you on a massive journey. And I think there's been a lot of synchronicities as well along that way. So, yeah, if you'd like just to tell everybody a bit about yourself, a bit about your background and why you chose this particular subject of Reiki and synchronicity.
Okay. Well, for many, many years, I worked for an energy company with vulnerable customers. And it was funny because I was remembering something today. And one of the things I used to do was the warm home discount. And we had the scripting to read out. And on the back of it was all laminated, and on my laminated script, there was a pound sign. Now, nobody else had a pound sign on their laminated script, but I'll tell you how that works in later. But when I went to, first of all, when I heard about Reiki, it was from my neighbour, and my neighbour had been trained by David. And I remember lying there saying, "Don't feel a thing." And she's going, "How can you not feel a thing when I feel this, this, and this, and this?" And we worked out why, So after a time of me learning about Reiki from somewhere else, I thought I was going to get trained by that person, and he wasn't the right person. And I went to my neighbour and I said, "Who did you get trained by?" And she said, "David." So I phoned David. And it so happened that there was no doubt, because the date that I had in my diary for my Reiki workshop with the other person who'd cancelled it was the date that David was having his Reiki 1 workshop. So synchronicity started from the very beginning, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the other person had cancelled the Reiki workshop because he didn't have enough people. And he told me I could go to Glasgow if I wanted. And I said, no. Whereas when David said to me, "I only do small groups," I thought, there you go, I found the right person. So at the end of 2018, I gave up my job and I decided I was going to go full time doing my Reiki. And for about a year, I started doing lots of work in my house, thinking I was going to stay there forever, and then decided to move once it was all complete. And then, of course, lockdown came. So it's been a different journey than I anticipated.
But Reiki has been good for you, hasn't it? So do you see a connection with Reiki and synchronicity, or are they two separate things and you've had synchronicity out with the Reiki environment?
I would say that Probably, it's hard to say because obviously I give myself Reiki every single day. So Reiki's part of my life. So the synchronistic things happen at the same time. So yeah, I would say the two of them are completely melded together. I mean, it's funny, I met somebody last week that I haven't seen for 14 years, one of my students. And the day before I met her, I came across a picture that she'd given me of a swan. And I said that to her and I says, how funny is that? I says, this picture just came to my hand the day before I come to meet you. So again, the Reiki's connected to the synchronistic event.
So do you think that's amplified it?
Oh, 100%. I think possibly it might happen without it, but once you become aware of it, it happens an awful lot more often. In actual fact, I actually wrote a book which I published in 2019. And this was after I had gone to Spain and I met an author there who was writing her first book. And I told her of all the synchronistic things that had happened and I'd been writing them all down. And she said, write a book. And I said, oh, no. I said, I can't write a book. So it so happened that when I was coming to the point of leaving my work, everything came together at the right time and I wrote a book. So, you know, it's a good thing to have in your life.
And so, Scott.
So, Reiki. I often consider Reiki the gateway drug to a higher plane. Everybody kind of starts with Reiki when they enter the energy, when they start learning about energy. A Reiki master also, and I absolutely do it every day. Sometimes, usually probably 2, 3, 4 times a day. I do clearing through the Reiki, and it changed my perception. It changed my life. It changed how I saw everything around me. And I started asking the questions. So during the work happened today, there was a person I wanted to see. And I just said, please allow me to see her. So I work in schools. And so as I'm leaving, she happens to come right up, and we met as I'm leaving. And, I tell people these things and they go, oh, okay, you're full of it. But I just sit and ask, I just ask, okay, where should I go now? And sometimes you have 2 things you have to do. And they say, oh, you should do this first. And I always find out the reason is because I see something or somebody or something happens that is aligned with where I need to go. And instead of me pushing through it and bullying my way through it energetically and just, oh, I've got to get this done, I allow. And in allowing that, things just happen very, very naturally. They happen in synchronicity. They happen as they should. And I really use that in my life to say and ask the question and stop for a minute and just take a breath and say, how should I proceed? Sometimes it's just like, wait. And for anybody who knows me, they know that waiting is not patience is one of those things that I don't have an abundance of. And so learning patience has been quite a feat. But I'd really like to hear more of how you started with Reiki, in all sincerity, and what it changed in you in your perception and how it affected you.
I think the way that it mostly affected, the way it mostly affected me is I did my level 1 with David, and I had done it because I wanted to help my back, which kept giving way. And I found Reiki level 1 didn't help my back at all. And I remember saying to David, I don't understand this. I said, I'm helping everybody else that I'm touching, but I'm not helping myself. And he said to me, are you thinking differently? And at that point, I realized that I had a hole in my roof and I had 3 companies out and none of them could find out where the hole was coming from. And after I did my level 2 with David, I walked away and I went, oh, what the heck, it'll get sorted. And since that point, I have to say that I've become a lot more positive. I used to be one of these people that said, if 2 things have happened, you're waiting on the 3rd bad thing happening. And that totally went out of my life at that point. And that's what I would say was the most impact it's had on me. It's made me a lot more positive of a person.
Beautiful.
Sorry, Sarah.
Sort of, I know I've sort of shared to a certain degree before, but I nowhere anywhere near any of this stuff. But I remember sitting on the stairs at home, the little place I had, and thinking, what can I learn for me? And I think I actually was putting my hands up my back, and I was thinking, I can't learn massage because you can't. Well, I can learn it, but I can't massage myself. And I don't think what I realized was I'd actually put that question out to the universe. And within a couple of weeks, in the evening paper or the local paper that came around, the free paper that came around, there was an advert for a holistic fair and a psychic fair. And I can't tell you why I rang my sister. I was speaking to my sister and I said, Jackie, which one should I go to? She said, I know you, Sarah. Go to the holistic fair. Don't go to the psychic fair. And so I did. And literally the very first stand inside the door was a lady. She was actually sharing about metamorphic technique and an angel day. But we got talking. And the lady that was holding the angel day had taught her metamorphic technique and Reiki. And she said to me, with Reiki, the very first person you treat is yourself. What had I asked? I don't think I even registered at that point in time that I'd put a question out. So as you were saying, you asked the questions, Scott. I didn't realize what I was doing, but I asked the question. I went to that angel day. I met Elaine. She became my Reiki master. But I did level 1 for me, not for anything specific. My thing was more emotional, sort of mental, the trauma of childhood. And it was, okay, how can I help me? And I was really, and I say really good, I probably did a session for myself every day. I don't think I missed a day where I actually lay down and did a session for myself. I opened the channel for myself with my healing list every night. I Reiki my food on a daily basis, sort of and ask for Reiki energies for my car and the house and everything. And it's something I do on a daily basis. And there have been synchronicities, things. But you're talking about if something comes at you twice, you're waiting for the 3rd bad thing to happen. But it's if something comes at you more than once, don't wait for the 3rd. The universe is trying to get your attention. And we were only just talking about this in another program. And I remember a few years back, I kept getting a card that I think was Oceania. And I'd seen a van wandering around for a new restaurant that was called Oceanos. And then Trevor said to me, my friend said to me, Sarah, I've had an email, somebody who wants potentially to talk to you from Oceanic. I said, I will speak to them. And he said, oh, will you? I said, of course, yes, I will, because he's not into that ocean bit. There was a reason. And that was actually all to do with Reiki, because I ended up by going and spending a few Mondays there. It was a sort of place that was normally closed on a Monday, but I ended up by giving Reiki tasters and then Reiki sessions to people. And I think there was one particular person I was definitely there, the life to touch, because she had a full session. And seriously, the tears, they were streaming down my cheeks. They were absolutely streaming down my cheeks. And I got to the sacral plexus and the base chakra, and which I know for me is all about child. And suddenly the word was in my head. I don't hear voices, don't see things, but the word was in my head, dead. And it was just like, whoa. And at the very end of the session, I just said, and I wasn't sure how to cope with this and how to deal with this, being perfectly honest. And I said to her, I got so many tears. She said, yes, my 20-year-old son dropped dead 2 years ago. Reiki is amazing. She came and had a series of 5 sessions with me. I have no idea what happened after that. We don't, and that's the important thing of being detached from an outcome with things. Because our detachment gives the individual receiving the freedom of choice.
Yep.
We're open to the synchronicities that can guide us to people and people to us. That's the most important thing. Joy, your thoughts?
I think one of the things that made me waken up to synchronicity was I used to have my laptop set up, and every morning I'd log into my laptop. It would have like the evening news, the Scotsman, and all the newspapers. And one day I decided that the news was not a good thing for me to be looking at. And the next again morning, I opened up my laptop and everything had disappeared. And I thought, so at that point, I thought all I need to do from now onwards is just say something and it'll happen. Maybe not in the way I expect it to happen, but things happened. It's like when I was doing my Karuna Reiki, the person that was doing it had vouchers off of all of her therapies apart from Karuna Reiki. And I thought, she's the person I have to do it with, so I'll just leave it out there just now. The next time I looked on the website, Karuna Reiki was on the vouchers. So that's the way that I tend to work. I just put it out there and then I forget all about it and then it happens. I think a lot of people get confused between synchronicity and coincidence, but I honestly think that coincidence is a chance. It's something that might just happen, whereas synchronicity is more like there's a deeper source at it, and it's actually more personal with the person.
Yeah, I think you're right, Joy. It's really quite interesting because, as you say, coincidence is a chance, but is that chance meant to be as well? But I think, just answering a bit on your question, Scott, I got into it through my back, the same as Joy. And that's what I was given Reiki for, to help my back. But what I found, and it really did, at level 1, it did really hit me. But as I went on, I felt, because I was always a really nervous child, and I was scared to go out the back door. I used to bite my nails. It was really, really traumatic. But when I started taking Reiki, which was later in my life, which was a few years later, I found, even my mum and dad, when they were here, they said, you've just calmed down so much. It's like you don't worry about anything and you just relax and you just let things be. But I think when you do that and you come out of your head, we may have had these coincidences or synchronicities come to us. But when you're out of your head and you're more aware, you see these synchronicities really for what they are. It really heightens your awareness, I think. And you start seeing more of the synchronicities because you're aware of, let's say, the universe speaking to us. Because the universe doesn't always speak to us in English, but it speaks to us in signs, in signals, and bringing things together. And I think if you can get into that state of greater awareness of what's around, and Reiki is a great key for opening up the doors to so much more.
When I
I remember when I had first learned Reiki and I was walking across the park and a complete stranger came up to me and started talking about Reiki and asking me if I knew of anywhere you could go and learn Reiki. Now, that to me is not a chance because that's just far too out there to be a chance.
Yeah.
It's more being pulled into your vibration, knowing that somehow he needed to talk to me without knowing anything about me.
I had somebody. I was walking in the door. I work in the schools, and I was walking in the door to one of the schools. And the secretary had me come over. I said, "Yes, what's going on?" She says, "I've never seen anyone like you." I said, "Well, I didn't know if I was that odd or not," but she says, "No, She said, "I've never seen anyone with as clear an aura as you." And I didn't know she saw people in that respect. I said, "Is that good?" She said, "Yes." She became a client because she started talking. But that synchronicity that we talk about, when you deal with clients and you're working with Reiki, and you have this awareness of other people's energy, of other people's where their blocks are, when you get those sensitivities, when you understand what's going on within them, what emotions are coming up, how to be able to help them allow it to leave, how it doesn't, non-resident energy, how it can leave, how it can clear, how good they feel afterwards, how grounded they feel, how just more of themselves and brought back into their bodies when after Reiki. And it's absolutely amazing because for me, it makes me more aware of myself in seeing that in other people, in seeing what other people are going through. And it kind of being the observer and saying, "Oh yeah, that went on with me." And oh, that's what it really looks like. Okay. It's much easier to see it in other people sometimes than it is yourself because you're involved with yourself. But as Reiki is, the first time I had it, you talked about the first time I had it, I went to a fair and she did it sitting down and I went, "Wow, is that a crock?" There was nothing there. I got nothing. And it wasn't until I was able to, after my wife passed, and I was able to really take down all my defenses and be able to allow the energy in, that it really started to work, that it made an impact, it made a change. And then the learning, the curiosity of, I want to know more, I want to understand more, I want to be able to do more. How does this work? And then all of a sudden, everything changed. How I see everything is energy. How I see everything in a different perspective. Sometimes I can see it in three ways at the same time. And I would encourage anyone who is listening, I would encourage anyone who is even curious to go to somebody who's been practicing and be able to understand and heal themselves through Reiki, because that's where it comes from. Self-healing is number one, and then what we do after that is a bonus.
It's very much a matter of accepting that the only person who can heal you is you. You have to be involved in your own healing journey. The very first Reiki session I had with Elaine, she said, "No, come and have a session and then just see whether I am the right person for you." But as I said, I had no idea what I'd done. I'd put it out to the universe and it was just like, I didn't feel anything. I felt absolutely nothing. But it was just a matter of, no, I would wish to learn something that I could do for me. It has to be about what I can do for me. So therefore, this is what Reiki can do. It's about what I can do for me. And so I did my level 1. Brilliant. She had Reiki shares, Reiki days. Went to everything that I could. And I remember, you were talking about, did you feel anything? And I remember sort of one session, one share, and they were all talking about the feelings they'd had, the things that they'd experienced, etc., etc. And it's just like, but I don't feel anything, don't see anything, don't hear anything, don't get anything. And they looked at me, oh, come on, Sarah, you've got to be kidding. I said, don't get anything. But I know this is what I'm meant to be doing. It's right for me to do. This is all about knowing for me and trusting. And that the actual share itself, where we everybody gets a chance to be on the table and all the rest people offer the Reiki. And this lady sat up at the end of the session and she looked at me and she said, and don't tell me you didn't feel that. And I just looked at her and I said, feel what? She said, you were cooking me. But most of the point was she was drawing the energy through me. And I just obviously didn't need to know about it. So it's a trust thing with me.
Yeah.
It's every now and again with that lady and the tears. That's happened, sort of very rare I get words in my head, and it's all about trust for me. And then the synchronicities, it's all about trust. And there are those people, that's that school of thought that said, there's no such thing as a coincidence. It is all synchronicities, because these things happen for a reason, even if we never know what that reason was.
I remember when I got my puppies, my dog had passed in the October and this was the January, and I thought I needed another dog. And for some reason it came into my head, I want 2 dogs, more fool me. And I sent a message to this lady and she said, I've only got 1 dog left, but you can come and see. So my daughter contacted her the next again day and she said, why does your mum want 2? She says, well, it's because, she's had 1 dog all along and she wonders whether they'd be more happy to have 2 together. So we went to visit them and she says, well, choose a dog. And then she says, now choose another dog. Now, we walked out of that. The puppies were 4 weeks old. And I said to my daughter, I says, I do not want an official dog walker person. I want somebody who has been, maybe they can't have a dog in their house and they just want to have lots and lots of dog cuddles. And I put an advert in my local shop and I got a phone call from somebody. She says, I was at a meeting in January and you were at that same meeting and I didn't know that you lived in the same street as me. And I know just who you need. It's my next door neighbour. So again, just putting it out there, saying what I wanted, it all materialised. And when that lady, she said to me that she looked after dogs from a rescue and she'd had none at the moment. She says, I'll be able to look after them while they're in the house. Well, the time came, she got a dog from the rescue, but his paws were so bad she couldn't walk him. So she walked my dogs for a year after that. So I like to say that synchronicity definitely works when you put your thoughts out there.
It's really interesting because when I first started on my, let's say my spiritual pathway, my awareness pathway of who and what was going to lie ahead for me, I sat in a circle, and this synchronicity has only come up in the past 10 days from when I first started sitting in circle 35 years ago. And someone messaged me something. We're doing some spiritual work and we're getting information and a lot of guidance between ourselves. And they come up with this story about this particular subject. And I says that, and it was not a general subject. And I said, do you know that was practically my first words sitting in circle was about this subject. And that matched from 35 years ago till about 10 days, 2 weeks ago. And I thought I was given that information and I didn't know what to do with it until now. And it just shows that if we look back, maybe there were synchronicities waiting to happen, or we may have missed so many synchronicities. So, but the awareness, and when it just hits, you go, duh, you know, it's amazing what comes in.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think the awareness of doing a healing modality, whether it's Reiki or whether it's any other sort of healing, and at the core of it, the healing is for you, nobody else, because you are the one on the class. You are the one sitting in the classroom. If it was for anybody else at that time, they would be there. So it's a lot about self-care as well. Reiki gives you a lot of self-care. And I think it's something that we don't do enough of over the time. But even as a client, you were saying about not feeling anything as a client, Sarah. I remember one lady I used to go to every 2 weeks, and this was about trust as well. And she was a full-time wheelchair user, and we found the best place for her to receive Reiki was between the shoulder blades. And that's my only hand position for her. And I put my hands on one night, and I just thought, they're like lead. David, you're a fraud. What are you doing here? And this was going through my head, and I felt absolutely nothing. And I persevered. I just carried on channeling what dead weight. That's what I felt. And at the end of the session, I couldn't wake the lady up. And she said, you know, that's the strongest session of Reiki you've ever given me. And I goes, you know, I'm sitting here like, David, you're a charlatan.
I remember you telling me that story.
And you feel awful. So it's like you, Sarah, there is a lot of trust, either as a client or as a recipient of Reiki or as a practitioner. We all go through those feelings, but whether you don't feel the energy, you're not meant to feel the energy at that time, or whether, you know, you're just meant to step out and you're stepping right aside. It could be either of those two, but it certainly does raise your frequency and the frequency of your awareness to what's going on and things that we would turn a blind eye to or not even see.
Yeah.
Scott, you want to?
Oh, we've lost your volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I volunteer for hospice care, and I was, you know, we had to train for 40 hours in order to volunteer my time. So full 40-hour course, and I understood why. In dealing with end of days for a lot of people, and I'm holding space, and I'm just finding holding space is enough. But I also put it out there that if anybody wanted Reiki. So now I've done 3 days of Reiki for the staff. So I go in, and I do 12 consecutive sessions, 12 half-hour sessions, one right after the other. And being able to work with different people each and every time. But the staff, I've dealt with the directors, with the nurses, with the doctors, with the volunteer staff, whoever wants to come in, and just ask them, well, have you ever had Reiki? Do you know what it is? And we talk, and then I find out where their level is, and I meet them at that their vibrational level. And David, it's a lot of people look at me like that, like for 6.5 hours, I do Reiki straight. In the way that I do it, and I used to bring it into myself. When I was healing, I would bring it into myself. I would feel it fully, and then I would try and take it out of my body, and it would leave me dissipated. It would leave me right out there. So I found that I bring it in. I don't bring it into myself. I observe it. If I'm feeling something, I'll feel it in my shoulder. It's like, okay, that's where their pain is. Okay, the knee. Okay. I will get indications, but I don't take it as mine. And I just bring the energy in, hand's length, arm's length away from myself, and bring it through. I'm not the one doing the healing. The energy is. I allow the person to work itself in the person as it can, as they're able to at that time. If they're allowed, if there's resistance, and you've had people who've walked in and like, nope, you're not going to do that. I don't believe, I've had a number of friends of mine who say, oh, show me what you do. And I'll do it. And I'll go like, yeah, okay, right. Yeah, sure. Okay. Guys are just, yeah, this is just malarkey. But it's that acceptance, that willingness, that allowing of the energy and that allowing of it to do the work that allows it to help. I always tell people, I don't heal anybody ever. It's not for me. I help bring energy in for you to heal yourself, for you to be able to move your energy, for you to be able to go through blockages and move that blockage. And I help that along and just kind of guide you. But you're doing all the work, not me. After those days of those prolonged days, I almost can't get to sleep at night because I am so full of energy. I have cleared myself. I've cleared the space every time. I've cleared myself every time after dealing with the client on the table. I have worked my way through that. So I go in the bathroom, I wash, I clear, I go back in, I clear the room, and then the next person walks in. So they're basically 20-minute sessions. But I've been able to get a lot done. And these are people that in hospice are caregivers. They give so much of themselves. It's their nature. They just give and give and give, and they don't receive very often. So I tell them that for those 20 minutes, they are allowed to receive and allowed. And I've had more than half of them come out in tears because they finally let emotions get to them. They finally acknowledge them. They finally kind of break through a lot of those things that they've been holding in. And most of the time, it's about their personal life, not about the people that they're helping. End of life. There goes David. It's about things that are going on in their life that they really haven't dealt with because, it's too much. So that's why when we're talking about energy and the healing, that's why Reiki for me is just so uplifting because of that. How are your experiences?
Good to have you back, David.
Thank you. It was nothing you said, Scott. Everything just froze and then I disappeared.
But you're doing okay now.
Yeah, I'm back. It's really funny about this internet connection. That was a synchronicity as well. I've got no heating here tonight because the Wi-Fi's down and everything went about 5 minutes before I was due to connect in. And you was on another call, wasn't you, Sarah and Scott? And another David had lost all their power and internet. So I think we've come out in sympathy with one another.
And in totally different parts of the world as well.
Yeah. I don't know where the other David was, but
he's in Idaho in the US.
All right. Okay.
A little bit far.
We're all connected.
We are. What I have done in the past, sort of many little fairs and events, different, but sometimes they're sort of mind, body, spirit, but sometimes it's just local events. I've taken the energy, the therapies too, and encouraged others to come and have, you know, stands with me. And this one particular one was something to do with our local carnival that happens once a year. I'm not sure it still goes on, but it used to. And then they'd have a big event on a local green. And but I thought it's a great thing to do is take these things where people aren't expecting to see them. And those people that would never walk into a mind, body, spirit fair, holistic fair, a psychic fair, they will potentially come to you if you're at this general event. And this particular event, I'm pretty open with people. And my reaction is, although I've been told, oh, you can't talk to people like that, my reaction is, well, yes, I can. I'm being honest, I'm being openly honest with people. And after this particular event, I got a phone call. And this voice on the other end of the phone says, I was so angry with you. Oops. She said, I then thought about it, and you're the only person who's been honest with me. And this is my thing about, yes, I can talk to people the way I talk to people. Because if I'm that first person, or I'm that second person, or I'm that third person, but if somebody says, that funny woman that day at that event said that to me, do you know what? I don't care. I know I've done my part in what hopefully will be that 3 times and people listen. You know, so that synchronicity. Sometimes we are meant to be a part of other people's synchronicity. And it isn't for us to hold back from that. Oh, should I really say this to this individual? We were sharing the Reiki and the metamorphic technique and Indian head massage and reflexology. We were sharing different energies to support people's own self-healing. Aren't words also a part of that? And bear in mind that I actually now do what I call vocal Reiki. But it is about the words as well as the tones and the sound that comes through. So I think we have those synchronicities that occur to us, but are we not also meant to be a part of the synchronicities that occur to others?
You never see it that way, do you? Joy, you seem to have something going through your mind.
Oh, it was just me thinking about a client I had today, actually. She was coming for the first time of having had Reiki. And she came in today and she said, she was telling me that she's a masseuse and her hands get sore. And I had literally gone to a certain point of the body and I kept thinking hands, hands, hands. And I just went back and I held her hands. And afterwards we were talking and I said to her, I don't know why. I says, I just needed to hold your hand. She went, you know, she says, I was going to ask you, would you hold my hands, Joy? Yeah. I thought, you just have to listen to your intuition when it tells you to go and do that. You know? But it was funny because, I mean, I had told Sara that, you know, I'm actually closing my Reiki business because since moving to this village, it's not really working. And this girl came today and she then started asking me about training her in the future. And then she said, she sent me a message saying, I've already recommended you to so and so and so and so. And I thought, okay, I think we've had this conversation before, David, that the universe tells you what it's going to do with Reiki.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe I'm not getting away scot-free just yet.
I don't think so. I think you're the same as me. I took a big long look at my work this year, and you know, the past couple of years I've had and really had to listen to stepping back or slowing down.
Yeah.
And I got this year and I said, right, I'm really going to fine tune everything. You know, I can't keep going like a 21-year-old. And I put my foot on the brake. And as soon as I put my foot on the brake, like you, oh, can you do this? And this was something I was thinking of letting go or putting to bed. And oh, can you do this? Can you do this? And you think, you know, once you're, I think Reiki really helped me with aligning my energy and my thoughts, because that come along at the same time as my mediumship opening up. And I think because you're so aligned, the signals get in and getting quicker. And I say, okay, I'm going to put my foot down. That was my head saying that. Oh, no, you're not, but you're going to manage your time a little bit better than what you do. So I'm learning to manage my time so it's more in balance. But that when you have that awareness, you get this guidance, call it synchronicity, call it guidance, whatever, from wherever, to show you, no, you're not going down that road. So I know what it's like, Joy. You think you're going to put your foot on the brake and oh no, here it comes.
I mean, the way that I look at it, you know, I mean, yes, I don't have to do any advertising or anything like that because I'm quiet just now. But if people come to me via other means, then that'll be fine. Just won't be making me work constantly on it. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm going to treat it from now onwards. It
You're
was
not getting
funny,
off lightly.
well, it was funny, David, because I was remembering today when we were talking and you said, you know, did I want to go and train to the next level? And I remember saying to you it was too much money and I couldn't afford it. And you said, let's put it in way, way, way in the distance. So we put it for about 9 months later. And that year, I sold a couple of my chi machines. So I got the commission from them. My aunt doubled her Christmas money. And then I was left with something like £34 that I needed to make the target amount. And I got the worst ever bonus I had ever done. Rather than getting in the hundreds, I got £34. And I thought, okay, it's time to do it. You know? And I'm glad I did because it totally changed things.
Beautiful. Question.
It's
Question for
funny
you.
how that all falls into place, and it's divine timing, isn't it? In so
Definitely.
many cases.
Uh-huh. In fact, my aunt was in the hospice recently, and she was one of the aunts that accepted Reiki. The other ones all thought it was the devil's work and stuff, you know. But anyway, this aunt accepted Reiki, and there was a period of time when she couldn't talk. And I sent her a message with a card, and on it I just said to her, I will send you as much Reiki as you are willing to accept. And I was told afterwards that obviously she could still read it all, so she didn't stop asking for it until she passed over. And I thought that's a really good thing that you can do with Reiki, is sending it distance wise. She didn't want to see anybody because she couldn't talk. So me just sending it, she just took as much as she needed until she passed over.
Yeah.
So it's worthwhile.
Scott.
The question I had, working with some people over in the UK, and is it much more? It seems readily accepted on a broader scale. Reiki, holistic medicine, holistic modalities.
It definitely is nowadays, yes.
Say again?
It is nowadays. When I started out, people thought that you were as weird as can be if you even mentioned that you did Reiki. Whereas now you can turn a corner and there's somebody doing Reiki. It's everywhere, which is good.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I live south of Boston, and it's kind of it's hard to find holistic practices.
Wow.
Yeah, it really is. When we were near Boston, and they have three of the major hospitals in the world there, and they are now allowing cancer patients for Reiki, for massage, for Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and allowing that it can have its benefits.
There's a
So they're
hospital in
just now
London that
starting.
does that. They were allowing the people to go in and give Reiki to the patients. And all the nurses actually said that it was allowing them the freedom to go off and do other things. So they were actually thinking it was making a major difference to the well-being of the patients. So it's good for it to get into hospitals.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I have more and more hospice patients that are now starting to ask for Reiki.
Good.
And my with hospice patients has been I was able to bring relief for a period of time when they had no time of relief, and that's holding the space and holding the energy and allowing them to be in a calm state. And if that's all it can do, that's more than they've had. That's more peace, more calm than they've had in so long. And you know, I'm just very grateful to be able to give that to them.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, it's so rewarding. You know, I when I go deal with cancer patients, they say, well, how much? I said, as my wife passed from breast cancer, I do this for, I don't ever accept anything for it. And for me, it's my way of giving back, you know, and I love what Reiki has brought into my life. And for me to be able to do this for people just gives me so much gratitude, so much joy. And, you know, you can do it anywhere, anytime, anyhow. We all know that. That's the lovely part of it.
I was on a weekend away recently and I was sharing the room with somebody that I didn't know. And in the morning, she said to me, I've got a question for you. I said, uh-huh. She says, how did you fall asleep instantly? I says, I give myself Reiki to fall asleep. She says, but when you got up in the middle of the night to use the toilet, you fell back asleep again instantly. I said, I gave myself Reiki again. She went, where can I learn Reiki in London, Joy? So she was going to go back and find somebody to teach her Reiki.
I have the same experience. I get up, I'm down. I'm up, I'm down. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you're in that constant state, your mind doesn't take over.
Yeah.
I think what
we need to come to a close. Yeah.
All right, I'll just do it quickly. I think what it is showing that, you know, there's no cure-all. Nobody can say we're going to cure, but what energy modalities and Reiki especially can do is to support people and allow them, you know, to be in a much calmer place. And if we take stress out of somebody, or that energy takes stress out of somebody, taking the stress and the worry alone out of sick people's lives is going to make you feel better anyway. So, you know, wherever wherever you're practicing, you know, we're not only working with a client, but we're working with the people and the family around them. They're, you know, Reiki is having an effect on the family and outside. So it's lovely to hear.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, obviously we're coming towards the end. So any final comments so Joy, let's start with you. And I have put your website address up, which is peaceharmonyandjoy.co.uk. So I've put it up. And if you're watching the video, then please, it'll be underneath the video on YouTube.
Okay.
Joy, any final words?
I want to say that Reiki can be used from a very, very young age. I used to give my daughter Reiki when she was pregnant with her son. And we got to a stage when her son was not moving in the room. And I put my hands on her and he started doing somersaults. So we then went one day when she was very close and she didn't want me to do that. She wanted to go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital and they put her up to the machines, and then they had this very concerned look on their face. And they went away to get another doctor to come in, and she went, "Mum, put your hands on me." They came back in and says, "Would you like to take a walk and calm this baby down?" So we know that Reiki can do no harm to anybody. And I think it's amazing that you can use it for any sort of health issue that anybody might have.
Yeah. David.
Well, a big thank you, Joy, for joining us and passing on and sharing all this information. It's just really incredible, the synchronicities that came about for us 20 years ago, and here we are almost to the day 20 years later, kind of introducing Reiki to other people and talking about it as well. So thank you for coming on and
Thank you.
sharing all your knowledge and your wisdom.
Scott.
If not for Reiki, I would not be sitting here speaking with you, beautiful, wonderful, amazing people, to be able to exchange all of these ideas. It is the start and definitely not the finish. I've got just turning 66. I have a contract to go to Lima 100. I'll be doing this. But God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
But thank you to each and every one. And if is anybody listening to this and they're thinking, Reiki, try it. And it doesn't matter if you don't feel anything. The one thing I would sort of say to folks is, I didn't, and I trusted. I don't, and I still trust. Over 20 years later, I think I did my level 1 in May 2002. So we're sort of coming up for 22 years this year. In fact, next month. So, and it's really important. If it's really not for you, then fine. I did level 1 for me, and it was 9 months later. I thought, I'm going to do my level 2. And literally, as I finished my level 2, I knew I would go on and teach. And so it's not where you start. It's just get going. And you don't have to go beyond level 1. Just trust the process and let it come in its own time. And listen for the synchronicities in life. Be open to the synchronicities in life. It's really important. It's the universe, or is it your soul speaking to you? Because it's your soul choices, the experiences that you're here to have, the lives you're here to touch. There are so many reasons for the synchronicities. Just be open to them. So thank you to Joy for this topic, because with all of us being Reiki masters, sort of in teaching, it was absolutely perfect. There's
If you want to hear a few more, this is my book, which is The Power of Reiki, Crystals and Synchronicity.
Yes. Oh, excellent. Which I'm assuming is on your website.
It is, yes.
Excellent.
You can get it on Amazon.
Yeah. So please, folks, if you feel drawn to connect with Joy or any of us, please feel free to do so. All our information will be under the video on YouTube, if that's where you're watching. If you're here now, they're also on the About Us page, the today's conversation on giftofhealingtv.com. Connect with us. We do this to support you. That's why we do this. So enjoy. Thank you to each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Next week, I am being joined by Sally Hart, and she's going to be sharing. And all she said is, it's a powerful healing meditation. So she's going to be sharing a meditation with us. She said she has now channeled it when I spoke to her earlier this week. But I have no idea what the meditation's about, so I'm looking forward to that one. So I hope you'll think about joining us in the future for more of the Today's Conversation programs, and for anything else that we share that you feel drawn to. Take care, stay well, be safe. Namaste, sweet souls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.